Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1663B, and today's date is September 13th, 2018, and the title of the episode is, The Plan is in Place, Prepare for the MOAB, 12 Steps Ahead. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, everything is in place here. I mean, the plan has been in place. The deep state, they're scrambling. They're in a panic. And from Q, we understand that these individuals, they're going to be doing stupid things. They're going to be making mistakes. And they're preparing some type of an event. We know that eventually what they're going to do is they're going to pull the event of all events. And we know what Q and the Patriots are trying to do. They're trying to delay this and continually call out certain individuals to have the deep state expend their ammunition. So once the real news comes out, they're completely caught off guard. Will that work? Maybe, maybe not. They do have certain things in place to stop the event, but can they stop everything? We'll have to wait to see. But I just want to read off a tweet that Trump put up there, and this kind of sums up everything. The tweet says, "It is a cesspool of corruption, and the people who did this need to be brought to justice." And this is absolutely right. I mean, what has been done here and all the evidence that's being gathered right now, and I'm not talking about the propaganda evidence that the deep state uses. This is documentation, signed documentation. This is video recordings. This is orders that are being given to certain individuals. These are text messages where they were texting back and forth. And we've only seen the things that they're allowing us to see. Can you imagine what the other things say that are redacted, that are classified? I can't even imagine. Well, maybe I can. But we can see right now that what's happening is they're setting everything up. And they're waiting for the right moment. That's why timing is everything. It's not that they're not going to do it. They're waiting for the exact moment to hit. Now, what's very interesting is Gallup came out with a poll that says the vast majority of Americans have dismissed the idea that Trump acted illegally with the Russian during the 2016 election, according to Frank Newport, the editor-in-chief of Gallup. Less than 3 in 10 Americans believe that Trump acted illegally in relation to alleged coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia. And this was their poll that they took on September 6th. And we can see that most of America is not agreeing with the mainstream media anymore. They're moving away from this. And we're going to be talking about Q's post and what's going on in just a little bit. But first, a couple of reports ago, we talked about this individual, Arjen Kampfius, who was an associate of WikiLeaks. And this individual went missing. They can't find him. He was in Norway. And what they found now is his belongings in a lake around where he went missing. And again, they don't know where he is. This is a Norwegian town of Bodø. He was missing from, I think the date is August 20th, and they couldn't find him. And now they found his personal belongings. So it looks like something happened here, and he was an associate of WikiLeaks. And right now, maybe he's dead, maybe he's kidnapped, but if they found his belongings in the water, most likely he was probably murdered, and then eventually they're going to find his body. Now, why did they do this? That we do not know. Maybe he was going to report on something and they shut him up. That is a possibility. We see that Google had a secret anti-Trump video which was leaked, and it was completely against Trump. And we know that Google, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and the rest, they're all against Trump and the Patriots. Why? Because they are infiltrated by the intelligence agencies, and these agencies have developed these platforms to be used to manipulate elections, to manipulate the way people think, to manipulate everything. And what they didn't expect was the alternative media or others to come onto these platforms and actually get a following. And once they found out that they were getting a following, they started to shadow ban, where they say, oh, look, no one's really following you. You only have, 500 followers. Everyone's following the mainstream media that has thousands upon thousands. And what they realized that didn't work. I mean, they're still trying to do it. They're still trying to censor. Don't get me wrong. But we can see at every turn, everything that they're trying to do has not worked. People want to know more and more, because what happens here is that propaganda can only get you so far. People have a curiosity about the truth. They want to find out about the truth. And when things don't sit right with them, they start to do research. And they start to look at what other people are saying. And if somebody's saying something that sounds like the truth, they research that. And they find out it is the truth. And they realize that, well, the mainstream media, the others, they're not telling me the truth. And this is why alternative media sites have grown over time, because people are starting to realize there's something wrong in the Matrix. And I believe this is where this all comes from. If you ever saw the movie The Matrix, you knew there was something wrong. You knew something was not right. You just couldn't put your finger on it. Most of the people, they're sleeping. They have no idea. They love The Matrix. And others that were out there felt like there was something wrong. And that's why they started looking into the truth. And others will wake up eventually. It just takes some time, and it sometimes has to be pushed right in front of them. And once they see it, all of a sudden, boom, they're awoken. Now, a lot of people will take this in all different ways. Remember when you first learned, you go through many different stages. You reject, you become angry, it's hard to accept, then you do a lot of research. Then you start saying, wow, look at all this stuff. And you start, spouting it off to everyone, anyone that will listen, and you just dump everything that you just learned on them, and they don't really want to listen to you. Well, this is what's going to happen when the truth comes out. And this is why Q has been saying you need to be patient with these people, that you can't dump everything on them all at once, because it's going to be very, very difficult for these individuals to understand what has been happening, since they've been believing something else completely. Even though they felt something was wrong, they were still believing something else completely. We see the EU has passed a copyright directive which includes link tax and upload filters. Now, the bill was passed in a final vote of 438 to 226 and will need to be implemented by individual EU member states. Now, the most important parts of this are Articles 11 and 13. Article 11 is intended to give publishers and papers a way to make money when companies like Google link to their stories, allowing them to demand paid licenses. Article 13 requires certain platforms like YouTube and Facebook stop users sharing unlicensed copyrighted material. Now, critics of the copyright directive say these provisions are disastrous. In the case of Article 11, they note that the attempts to tax platforms like Google News for sharing articles have repeatedly failed, and that the system would be ripe to abuse by copyright trolls. Article 13, they say, is even worse. The legislation requires the platforms proactively work with rights holders to stop users uploading copyrighted content. The only way to do so would be to scan all data being uploaded to sites like YouTube and Facebook. This would create an incredible burden for small platforms and would be used as a mechanism for widespread censorship. This is why figures like Wikipedia founder Jimmy Wales and World Wide Web inventor Tim Berners-Lee came out so strongly against the directive. Now, opponents of the directive have been using the hashtag #SaveYourInternet on social media. And we could see that some of the problems are as follows. And they're pointing out that the new copyright push could potentially block or ban memes from being shared on the European internet. According to a letter signed by world-renowned computer scientist Tim Berners and internet pioneer Vint Cerf, Articles 11 and 13 will not only affect the professional content creator, but also the average internet user. And they went on to say, in particular, far from only affecting large American internet platforms, the burden of Article 13 will fall most heavily on their competitors, including European startups and SMEs. The cost of putting in place the necessary automatic filtering technologies will be expensive and burdensome, and yet those technologies have still not developed to a point where their reliability can be guaranteed. Indeed, if Article 13 had been in place when Internet's core protocols and applications were developed, it is unlikely that it would exist today as we know it. The impact of Article 13 would also fall heavily on ordinary users of Internet platforms, not only those who upload music or video, but even those who contribute photos, text, or computer code to open collaboration platforms such as Wikipedia and GitHub. Now, we can see that this most likely is not being done for copyright purposes, but to keep certain individuals off the internet, because within the code is a narrow explanation of hate speech, being defined as all conduct publicly inciting violence or hatred directed against a group of a person or a member of such group defined by reference to race, color, religion, descent, or national or ethnic origin. What does that even mean? Because what you find hateful might not be what another person finds hateful. And here in the U.S., you're allowed to speak freely. Hate has nothing to do with free speech. If you don't like what someone's saying, you don't listen. But everyone is free to speak about anything. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to police what people say. And if they don't like what people say, they get rid of them. So think about this. Based on a narrow and subjective term such as hate speech, it is likely to keep suspicions high that these types of decisions aren't about creating a safer world, but rather a world in which superstates like the EU control the content people see online for political purposes. And we're seeing that here in the United States, because we see that certain individuals have been banned, shadow banned, and they cite that they violated the terms of service, but they never tell you specifically what they violated. So when you think about it, why do they keep it so vague? Because it makes it easier to take down anyone they want. If you're very specific, it makes it a lot difficult. If you keep it very vague, you can say, yes, you just violated the terms of service, we're taking you down. Even though you really didn't, they can say you did because it's so vague and it's their interpretation. We see John Kerry. It looks like he's been out to Iran having secret meetings with the Iranians about the nuclear deal. Now, this is very interesting. First of all, he violated the Logan Act. Yes, I know I think only 2 people have actually been indicted under the Logan Act. But it looks like he violated the Logan Act. Now, we need to remember the Logan Act states that the unauthorized diplomacy with foreign powers by private American citizens is a crime. And the reason why they created the Logan Act is because there were certain individuals in the past that went and tried to make deals with different countries, and it wasn't in the best interest for the country. That's why the president is the only one that can make deals with different countries, that can actually speak to the heads of these countries and talk about different treaties or agreements. Now, why would John Kerry go out there and try to speak to the Iranians about this nuclear deal? Because the deal is so great, he's very concerned that they're not going to create a nuclear weapon, or is he trying to protect himself? Normally, when you go out and do something like this, and you go out many, many times, you go out there because you're nervous and afraid that if something happens here and the truth comes out, you're going to be brought down with it. And you could see him going out there trying to keep this thing together and not have Iran squeal on the people that made this deal. Now, Q has told us what they've done here, and it looks like they're trying to stop this information coming out. And we'll have to see how this all plays out. But once again, he did violate the Logan Act. And when you do something like this, it's a crime because he's just a citizen now. We see the U.S. missile destroyer arrives in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Syria. And this is the USS Buckley. And it is an Arleigh-class warship. It has about 200 Tomahawks ready to go. And once again, we can see that tensions are rising in the Idlib area. And you can hear all the rhetoric going back and forth about, humanitarian crisis, that if Russia and Syria do something, we're going to strike very heavily there. It's going to be an attack like we'd never seen before. And I see the mainstream media out there, and they're saying, listen, don't cross the red lines like Obama did. It could end up in a disaster. To me, what they're doing right now is they know what Trump and the Patriots are going to do, what they're about to do. They're going to destroy the deep state, the last remaining paid mercenaries that are held up in this area. And the mainstream media, the intelligence agencies, those people who are behind the paid mercenaries, that is the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, the moderate rebels, they know that this is what's going to happen. And of course, this is a game. It's a show that you are watching. And when the missiles are fired, which I do believe that this is going to happen, they're going to be fired at the deep state infrastructure. And it will destroy that area, and Russia and Syria will move into that area and liberate the entire area, just like they've done throughout the rest of Syria. This is the show we are watching. Now, think about this. People are saying, well, this makes no sense. He's out there saying that, Assad is going to be using chemical weapons, the white helmets, they're there just for peace. He's using their weapons against them. He's using their narrative of the story. They're not going to counter their own narrative. It wouldn't make sense. I mean, they can try different methods of saying, listen, don't do what Obama did, which they are saying, because they know what Trump is about to do. They know what the military is about to do. They're going to destroy the last area of the paid mercenaries. And then at that point, the deep state is sunk. But by using their narrative, by using what they've been doing in the past, it's very hard to counter. And again, Russia and Syria, they're not going to be going into this area to destroy the deep state infrastructure, because the intelligence agencies, the mainstream media, can turn around and say Russia and Syria attack the U.S. If the U.S. goes in there and Trump and the Patriots destroy this area, they're not going to say the U.S. destroyed the U.S. or attacked the U.S. or attacked the paid mercenaries. It wouldn't make sense. So they're kind of stuck right here. And we can see that this is definitely building. Let's get into some of Q's posts here. This is post 2164. And it starts off, how do you inflict max pain / damage? Drop daily carpet bombs. Brackets, bold, all caps, rats running. Drop release MOAB, the mother of all bombs. Gave a link to Sarah Carter, how anti-Trump leakers moved from offense to defense. And then he went on to say, Q went on to say, Sessions and Flynn targeted for immediate removal recusal. Sessions Senate confirmation vote. Rod Rosenstein Senate confirmation vote. Reconcile. Sessions just barely made it in. Rod Rosenstein, no problem. His vote, we went through this before, the vote to get him in was very high. If Sessions wasn't a threat, why was he the primary target? Why was it critical to move Rod Rosenstein into the Department of Justice acting AG? RE appointment of Mueller. Director, Special Counsel Oversight Authority. Brackets, bold, all caps. If you know what your enemy is planning, how do you prepare strategically? Think today. The left is supporting Sessions. The left is defending Sessions. The mainstream media is defending Sessions. Strategic advantage. This was all done on purpose. Remember, we're watching a show here. Trump came out and he bashed Sessions. If he's bashing him, guess what? The mainstream media is going to defend him. The left is going to defend him. They want Sessions. Keep him. Don't fire him. Trump keeps saying that I should get rid of him. They're going to say, no, don't get rid of him. And it worked perfectly. Q put up an article from Fox News. News struck page text reveal others were leaking like mad in lead up to Trump-Russia probe. Gave a Twitter feed and another Twitter feed from American Newsroom. And we'll get into those in just a minute. Q says, with panic comes mistakes. With panic comes betrayal. With panic comes testimony. With panic comes prison. These people are stupid. FISA goes both ways. Plus, hoo-ah, Q. So, the MOAB has not been released yet. They're preparing for the MOAB. So what do we have here? 2 whole years of phony investigations just to get the mainstream media, the public, to support Sessions. Now let's look at the first article from Sarah Carter that Q put up. Past and present U.S. officials say the template for the leak campaign can be traced back to the Obama administration's effort to sell the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, which made the press reliant on background conversations and favorable leaks from government officials. Obama advisor Ben Rhodes told the New York Times in 2016 that we created an echo chamber that helped retail the administrative narrative. That same configuration, said Michael Doran, a senior official in George W. Bush White House, the press political operatives, newly minted experts, social media validators, were repurposed to target Trump, his campaign, transition team, then the presidency. The echo chamber's primary instrument in attacking the current White House, said Doran, is the Russian collusion narrative. Look at the brilliant bit of correlation, planting the seed of this leading directly back to Obama himself. After all, it was taken from his playbook. So it continues. RCI has found that the anti-Trump leaks fall into 2 broad categories or phases. Initially, the leaking was an offensive operation aimed at disrupting Trump's agenda, especially through leaks alleging connections between his campaign and the Russians. Its early successes included leaks of highly classified material that led to firing of National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and the recusal of Attorney General Jeff Sessions from overseeing that probe. The second phase, which began roughly a year into the Trump administration, has been more defensive, pushing back against congressional oversight committees that had uncovered irregularities in the FBI's investigation of Trump. This phase has been marked by the willingness of press outlets to run stories backing off early reported leaks that proved to be deeply misleading, including the roots of the FBI investigation of the Trump campaign and the relationship between Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr and the opposition research firm that produced a central document of that probe, the largely discredited Steele dossier. The second phase has also included articles and opinion pieces, some written by journalists who have published classified information, dismissing suspicions of an orchestrated campaign against Trump, as to use the phrase invoked in a recent New York article, a conspiracy theory. Former Obama officials and their press allies can call it a conspiracy theory or whatever they want. A senior U.S. official familiar with how Obama holdovers and the media jointly targeted Trump figures told RCI, but they can say it's not true that former Obama officials were furiously leaking to keep people close to Trump out of the White House. It wasn't a conspiracy theory. It was the truth. And then there's the zinger. The focus of the ongoing anti-Trump campaign became clear in March 2016 when the candidate identified Carter Page and George Papadopoulos as foreign policy advisors. For reasons that remain unclear, FBI officials decided that Page in particular was a Russian asset and that the others on the team might be as well. Instead of alerting Trump to the possibility, law enforcement set up a sting operation. And then, of course, we have the Strzok and Page texts where they were coordinating everything. And we can see that this is all coming out right now, and it's getting worse and worse for these individuals. Then we had Jim Jordan, who tweeted the following at Jim Jordan: "We're still waiting to get all the documents from Rod Rosenstein at the Justice Department. That's why we push so hard." Another tweet, he said, "Watch at Sandra Smith Fox spoke with Jim Jordan about Representative Mark Meadows sending a letter to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein alleging Strzok Page texts reveal a media leak strategy." And then there's this, Representative Mark Meadows. There are dozens of other documents that will support the fact that Peter Strzok and Lisa Page had ongoing relationships with multiple reporters and that they were feeding them information to spin a narrative against this president. We know that James Comey leaked. We know that Andrew McCabe leaked. We know that Peter Strzok and Lisa Page leaked. We also know the reporters who they leaked to. And we know who all these individuals are. They know their names. They know everything. Let's move on to post 2165. Q puts up 2 links, one from The Verge, one from CNET, and it's about how Reddit, the QAnon board, was banned on Reddit. And it's not the only board that was banned on Reddit. It was like 10 to 15 boards that were completely shut down. And Q went on to say, content violations, ? Stay strong, stay together, censorship will fail. Those they attack the most are the biggest threat. Expect Twitter, Facebook, force next. Alex Jones was the template. It was designed to attack censor QAnon. Primary objective, Q. So it looks like they used Alex Jones as a template, and it was designed to attack QAnon sites and boards. And it looks like it's Facebook, Twitter that's coming next. And this was completely set up because there was no content violations. There's mods on all of these boards. They delete comments that are against the terms of service. And Big League Politics unearthed at least one front of the attacks. And it looks like it was a complete setup where these comments were coming in so quickly, the mods couldn't keep up. And that gave them the ammunition to say, oh, look, we're dumping this. We're banning it. Post 2166 put up a Twitter feed from Fox News. Another individual for sexual misconduct. Nothing to see here. Dominoes are falling. Q. So we can see there's just another individual where they're saying he's resigning, but it has nothing to do with sexual misconduct. And we're going to see a lot more people resign because they know what's coming. Post 2167. Q put up 8chan, Patriots fight. Main points of interest only. It will serve as the main hub of all communications once all other sites tracking collapse. 8chan only, saying that they're going to bring down the rest and there will only be 8chan to communicate and talk about certain different things. What part of another wave of attacks coming yesterday wasn't understood? This is not a game. Where Q is saying that they knew this was coming. They knew that a lot of these boards were going to be shut down, and a lot more attacks are coming to Facebook, Twitter, and I wouldn't be surprised if Google took down certain websites, or not, can't really take them down, but can ban them from the search so nobody can find them. They did this to Natural News, where they delisted him. His site remained up, but if you went onto Google, it's like it never existed. And of course, yes, you can go to other search engines, but those people using Google would never find the website. So Q then responded to these posts in kind. In that case, BO needs to open more research boards. 70,000 posters extra on one board is simply not a workable situation. And we need to go back to Q's post where Q said, no private comms past, present, future. No comms made outside of this platform. And Anon said, this is now becoming very literal. And I think Q said this on purpose because other people were saying that they were talking to Q. They know who Q is. And we can see that all of this is becoming very literal because they're taking the other boards down and things are really happening right now. Post 2168, Q put up 297,000. Under it said military planning at its finest. And when you look at the Great Awakening, that was the board on Reddit, it said they had around 69,000 subscribers. And what Q, I think, is saying is that actually what they were doing is they were hiding a lot of the subscribers, those people who control Reddit, and it was more like 297,000. They tried to keep it down so nobody knows how many people are actually listening. But what's very interesting is that a couple of Anons decided to go and pretend they were going to advertise on Reddit. And you can't censor without committing fraud of how many subscribers you have. And they're saying the actual number of subscribers was closer to 6 million. And we could see why they were taking down these boards because there was just too many people. Then Q came out with post 2169 and put up a tweet by Trump which says, I'm draining the swamp and the swamp is trying to fight back. Don't worry, we will win. It looks like he's just reassuring everyone about, what is going on here, all the censorship and things like that. They're fighting back, but don't worry, they have everything under control. Post 2170. Q says, how do you demonstrate reasonable cause to regulate and or break up big tech? What is the common theme, tactic of the left? Define fascism. Forcible suppression of opposition. Define censorship. The institution, system, or practice of censoring. Define narrative. A way of presenting or understanding a situation or series of events that reflects and promotes a particular point of view or set of values. Define projection. The attribution of one's own ideas, feelings, or attitudes to other people or to objects, especially the externalization of blame, guilt, or responsibility as a defense against anxiety. The forming of a plan, scheming. Define psychological projection, a theory in psychology in which the human ego defends itself against unconscious impulses or qualities, both positive and negative, by denying their existence in themselves while attributing them to others. Define narcissist, a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. Narcissists who think the world revolves around them. Narcissists preening themselves in front of the mirror. Define dogma, a point of view or tenet put forth as authoritative without adequate grounds. Define aggression, forceful and sometimes overly assertive pursuit of one's aims and interests. Define suppression, the action of suppressing something such as activity or publication. Bonus round, in brackets, bold. Narcissists are renowned for using psychological projection to blame other people, even when it is entirely apparent that they are the ones in the wrong. Under this line that Q put, it says, define realism, the quality or fact of representing a person, thing, or a situation accurately or in a way that is true to life. Realism, this is in brackets and it's bold. Actions of Antifa, and Antifa is in brackets, caps, all bold. Aggression, projection. Suppression, fascism. Censorship, narrative, dogma. Actions of fake news. Aggression, projection. Suppression, fascism. Censorship, narrative, dogma. Actions of Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube, Reddit, etc. Brackets, all bold, caps. Aggression, projection. Suppression, fascism. Censorship, narrative, dogma. Bombs away. So Q then puts up a link to Bloomberg, to Fox News, and this is Sessions open to probe of social media giants, sources say. Fox News, hey Google, Facebook, Twitter, Trump's got a point. You need to do a better job of self-regulating. So it looks like the Trump administration, through Sessions, is going after these social media giants. And Q continued, massive fake news attention for a conspiracy, Reddit board being banned. Now think about it. If it was just a conspiracy and it's no big deal, why would you have to ban it? They're not banning other conspiracy theory type of boards. I mean, it's kind of strange that they're very nervous about this. Why are we being targeted by some of the largest media organizations on the planet? Gave a sample of many different news articles. Some of them are Reddit QAnon $1 million extreme ban. This is coming from The Verge. New York Post, Reddit bans QAnon conspiracy theory forums. NBCWashington.com, Reddit bans QAnon Great Awakening subreddits. NBC News again, Reddit bans QAnon. Washington Post, QAnon, the Great Awakening, the main subreddit board banned. And it goes on and on with all these articles. Why are these mainstream media publications so concerned about reporting how QAnon is being banned? Are they projecting something? Trying to steer people away from it? Q continues. Panic in D.C. Statements start a fire. 12 moves ahead. Suicide watch. Q. So it looks like things are starting to break down. And Kavanaugh is supposed to be confirmed on the 20th of September. Now, what's very interesting, on the 20th of September, we also have that emergency broadcasting alert system where there's going to be a drill on that day. So if Kavanaugh is confirmed earlier in the day on the 20th, and we have the drill on the same day, are they going to release the MOAB that evening, or maybe the next day? I mean, it looks like it's going to be very close to this time frame. And I know a lot of people have been struggling over the lack of declassification. And the reason it has not yet been declassified, which I believe, is because Trump is using the tension to draw out all the cabals, the deep state's preemptive strikes. As soon as it is declassified, the deep state will pull out all the stops and attempt to distract from the revelation. By simply keeping the threat of declass alive, Trump now is forcing them to exhaust their plans and become frantic, to use their ammunition, to become worried, to make mistakes, and maybe slip up, commit suicide. I don't mean death, I mean their own political suicide by completely messing up. And that suicide might mean a lot of different things, where people actually commit suicide, or people mess up, make mistakes, they become, they're panicked and they do something stupid and they politically suicide themselves. And the public now knows what they've done. We also see that Trump and the Patriots, they've been gathering a lot of this information and they're waiting for certain things to be in place, especially Kavanaugh, because they need the Supreme Court nomination. And it looks like they've been preparing the public over time by Trump continually tweeting out there about Bruce Orr, Nellie Orr, about Comey, Clinton, and the rest, getting the public used to this idea. Now, many people don't look at the tweets, but there are a lot of trolls on his site, and the mainstream media, they do take his tweets and they discuss them. They might laugh about them, but people hear it. It goes into their subconscious. So we can see we're getting very, very close, and the MOAB is coming. Now remember, you need to be prepared for this. Q has told us twice now that when this hits, it might get a little hairy. I think this is why Q mentioned the emergency broadcast drill, because they might communicate over this because we don't know what the deep state is going to do. Again, they might use the event of all events and try to keep this completely out of the news cycle by having other things happen. And it might not just be one gigantic thing. It might be many different things. All of a sudden, a power infrastructure was hit and the East Coast is out of power. We might see maybe an explosion someplace else. They might make it seem like we're being attacked. We don't know what they're going to do. But we can see they're getting ready to do something. We know that Q says there are safeguards in place. We know that they're going to retaliate. Something that is called Horizon or Silent Horizon. And that was the CIA drill where they were practicing hitting power infrastructure, banks, and things like that, preparing for a cyber attack. And we know what these drills are all about. It's not that they're preparing, they're testing their attacks because they're the ones who usually do it. So we're heading into a time frame. Once certain pieces are in place, the MOAB will be dropped. And you need to be ready and prepared for this. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.